I'm your host, Carolyn Solo, LCSW, EMDR therapist, and mom of 3 daughters. Thank you for joining me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 147 of the Future Template Parent Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Carolyn Solo, PhD, LCSW, EMDR consultant, and mom of 3 daughters. I almost said mom of $3. Today, we're diving into something a little spicy, but necessary. Getting called out for being greedy for offering intensives. If you've ever posted about your intensive fees in a therapist Facebook group or made a reel or a carousel on Instagram about high fee intensives and then you've been blasted for being elitist or inaccessible, you know what I'm talking about. You know this feeling. It stings, of course, because it taps right into our helper identity, right? That we're not helpers if we're taking advantage of people. And that imposter syndrome that says we don't deserve to charge a lot. And then that fear, am I really greedy? Am I really bad? Am I a bad therapist? And I actually see that as a fear that therapists have that can actually hold them back from starting intensives. That fear of being called out, particularly by their colleagues, and honestly, particularly on social media. And I think that's why a lot of therapists shy away from social media. As I have said many times on the podcast, you do not need social media to fill your intensives practice. And I honestly don't think social media is the best and only way to fill your intensives practice. I think it supports a lot of other things, but you absolutely can jettison social media, I think. There are lots of benefits to it, but you don't have to do it. But I think it helps a lot. So, take that for what it's worth. But I'm not going to talk about that today, about why I think social media is a useful thing for EMDR intensive therapists. But let me tell you a bit about my own experience with this call out culture and cancel culture and whatever you want to call it. I was actually planning on recording this podcast episode this week anyway. It was on my schedule of, episodes. But just yesterday, I had a few mean comments left on a reel that I posted where I'm talking about charging $6,000 for an intensive. And I have lots of reels about this that don't get negative comments, but this one did. I think it was about 5 comments in total that were, mean. Maybe that's a harsh word. I don't know, whatever. They were calling me greedy. They were calling me inaccessible. They were calling me unethical, even saying that I was doing harm. And when this happened, this experience allowed me to reflect on how far I've come on this journey as a therapist and as a business coach, and having something of a public-facing persona. Look, I'm not saying that I'm famous or anything, not even, period, but not even in the therapist influencer space. Obviously, there are people who are so much bigger. But still, if you want to, you can find out a lot about me and my views without doing a deep dive. I'm all over Instagram, Facebook. I've got the podcast. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm out there, and I'm easy to find. And I would say when you have a public-facing part of your business, and let's be honest, businesses are public-facing in any way, backlash and negativity actually is a sign of success in some ways. It's a sign that you're hitting on something real, and that's what we want. Marketing is about evoking reactions in people, right? And there's no way to make everyone happy, okay? And if you are making everyone happy, or at least not offending anyone, you're very likely unmemorable and not very influential. But yeah, I've come so far in this. And I was thinking about how I would have responded 2 years ago if this had happened, and how I responded this time, and just a sign of how far I've come in this area. So how did I respond this week? Did it hurt a little? Sure, I'm human. Did I question myself for a second? Yeah, I did. But here's what I didn't do. And these are some things I would have done 2 years ago. I did not devolve into a shame spiral for hours or weeks. I did not reply in a little snappy way, which I can do, And let me tell you, that never works. I've done it and it does not go well. I did not delete the comments. I left them there. I also didn't even try to engage with the people in a thoughtful way, right? But what did I do? I took a deep breath. I reminded myself that this has happened before to me and I have gotten through it. It happens to other people I respect in this space and they get through it. There actually have been no negative consequences of this happening. I reminded myself of all the ways that I do create accessibility. And I reminded myself that Instagram is not nuanced in any way. It's a snapshot of me and it's a snapshot of the person replying. So I don't know anything about them either, right? And they don't know the fullness of my values, my approaches, any of that. And I also remind myself that all engagement is good engagement, okay? And I don't delete the messages. I just leave them there. I am leaving them there. That's what I do now. I let other people respond if they feel so moved, and maybe they say something good that's helpful, but it's not me. And I rarely reply. Like, even if I'm responding neutrally or trying to respond from a place of education, it doesn't usually work, so I've stopped trying. And the job of my Instagram account about offering intensives, my business coaching account, Future Template Parent, isn't to convince anyone of anything. It's to pull in people who are already thinking about them and to educate them more and to empower them. So these mean commenters aren't my ideal audience anyway. Oh, and something else, I rarely block people anymore because usually that was coming from a place of shame. I'm like, I don't want them to see my stuff. No, I only block someone if they're being like abusive and continuing to come back and kind of harass me and harass them. Like, that doesn't really happen, especially if I don't reply. So yeah, I don't delete, I don't block, I just leave it there. All engagement is good engagement. So that's what I did. So the day after this happened, I posted another reel because I wanted to talk about the experience because I know it's something that people worry about. And I got some traction from other therapists who I know felt really seen and who understand this fear, who feel this fear, who sometimes let this fear get in the way of putting themselves out there, whether it's on social media, with their therapist colleagues, even putting intensives on their website. I had a coaching client actually have her co-group practice owner, her business partner, tell my client that she felt uncomfortable that my client was launching intensives, my client launching intensives in her very own private practice, not connected with the group practice at all. She was triggered by it. Thankfully, after a day, that person took a breath and realized that she was getting activated and she apologized. But wow, what an example of how much this brings stuff up for other people, right? And I know my coaching client was really glad that we could process this together because I get it. I've been there and I know what to do when it happens. And I know how to move forward when it happens without deciding I'm just going to burn it all down and go back to community mental health at $25 an hour when something like this happens, right? It can feel like we should do that, right? That's the only ethical way to be a therapist. Yeah, we've got to deconstruct these money stories, right? So many of us were conditioned, whether by family financial trauma or by grad school or by the field in general, to believe that our financial needs and goals are not valid. But here's the truth. Being honest about your financial needs and desires is not greedy. It's about how to be sustainable. You're trying to figure out what you need to be sustainable. We're not rejecting people. We're preventing ourselves becoming like a burnt out hull after 30 plus insurance sessions a week, right? As I've said so many times, premium fees actually help you provide ethical care. And you know I will shout from the rooftops that intensives are the Disney Fast Pass of therapy, providing deeper results for clients and allowing you the emotional bandwidth to show up as your best self. When you're financially secure, you actually have internal resources for things like scholarships or community work. Just so you know, here's what I do to provide accessibility that goes unseen, that it's impossible to represent in a 6-second reel. And honestly, I'm not interested in justifying my fees and my work to people who have no interest in understanding me anyway. They don't want to see my point of view. They're not interested. But I want you guys to know how I do this, how I provide accessibility, because you're my people and maybe it'll give you some ideas. And to remind you that my ethics are aligned with yours. I care about accessibility, right? But I don't think we should do it at the cost to ourselves, because then how can we be accessible if we're burnt out and can't work anyway, right? So some ways I do it. I have a pro bono ongoing client that I've been seeing for 5 years that I will see forever, as long as they want to. Doesn't matter what my rates are. I work with the Victims Crime Assistance of Pennsylvania Fund that covers all the therapy fees for clients who qualify, victims of crime, and a lot of them for me are victims of sexual crimes. All their therapy fees with me are covered, and I do all of the paperwork to make this happen. In terms of on the coaching side, I offer a lot of free resources, the podcast, freebies, webinars, and I'm working on more free resources. So you don't have to buy anything from me to learn from me, okay? I mean, I think you get a lot of value out of the paid options, but like I do care about providing free information. I donate monthly to causes I believe in. There's several of them, but a few of them that I'll mention. Therapy for Black girls, something called All Brains Belong, which provides neuroaffirming care to autistic people. And there is a food bank that is local to me that I support with a monthly donation. And there's other things, but just to give you an idea. I care a lot about free information. So I do give free psychoeducational talks in my community and at my alma mater. But I'm not going to talk about those things in a 6-second reel. But that's who I really am. And I know that's who all of you are. So stay grounded in that too, when you're, feeling like, oh my gosh, maybe this person is right. So speaking of staying grounded, it's all about knowing your why, right? Why are you doing this? Why are you offering these premium fee intensives? Is it for your family? Is it for your health? Is it for your specialized skills? Is it all the above? Set boundaries. You don't need to argue with strangers online whose money stories are not your business. And your money story isn't their business, right? Practicing your full fee out loud without apologizing. I still practice this before I get on a consult call. Remember that charging a high fee makes you a better therapist, not a greedy therapist. And more things about my why, I'll tell you if you don't already know. 1, having the time and space to be a present mom, especially because I have a special needs child who has lots of appointments, lots of emergencies, lots of unexpected needs. I can't be canceling 6 clients every day and working around a Swiss cheese schedule when things go wrong. I have 2 other children who also need me and are really impacted by our having a special needs child. I got to show up for them too. It's family stuff. The client outcomes are incredible. That's part of my why. Clients save money in the long run because they spend less time in therapy and they make big changes in their lives. 3, my own financial needs. Having a special needs child is expensive. Her out-of-pocket medical expenses are close to $2,000 per month. And that's after our insurance pays for whatever it pays for. And I have 3 kids, right? 1 kid is expensive. 3 kids are really expensive. Also, my husband, not to disclose too much for his privacy, but he really needs to retire for his health. And I am working my butt off to make that happen. So that's priority in our family. And I want my kids, all of them, to have access to resources and experiences that I couldn't have as a kid and that I think they deserve, whether it's music lessons and ballet and, being able to buy clothes they like sometimes and not just what they get as hand-me-downs. Like, I care about those things. And let's talk about inflation and how the cost of literally everything is going up. So yeah, that has something to do with my fees. And finally, I have invested so much in my business and I continue to invest in my own professional growth and development as an intensives therapist through training, through supervision, through consultation, of course, through my education, right? Not to mention the cost of running my business in a way that supports me. Those are a lot. Those costs are a lot. Like some of those costs include a nice office, right? Having financial support from an accountant that actually makes me feel good and supported. Having a good business coach who has helped me skyrocket my business in a lot of ways. Those things cost money, but they are valuable, but I have to pay for them. And I got to take something home. So yeah, I'm not going to be charging $100 an hour, which, by the way, would probably still have people telling me I'm greedy and inaccessible. You cannot win at this game, right? So I know you all have your whys as well. Know them. Remind yourself of them. Stay super grounded in them. They will keep you steady when the haters feel loud. And do what I said at the beginning. Take a breath. breathe. Remind yourself that this will pass. It's not going to negatively impact you. You're not going to get canceled. You're probably not that important. And what you're putting out there is doing a service, you know? This is all going to keep you steady when this brings up all that anxiety in you. And I will also say, the more you do it and the more it happens, it gets easier. But like I said, it doesn't go away. I still have these feelings, but I'm not panicking and thinking, oh my God, I'm terrible. I need to start over. This is all bad. Burn it down, right? I respond from a much more grounded place. So if you're struggling with this narrative, first of all, I understand and I see you. If the fear of being seen and called out keeps you silent, keeps you thinking, maybe I shouldn't offer intensives. Maybe I shouldn't change my practice from the standard model. Let's talk about it, okay? I can help you with this. Obviously, I've been through it. Book a free consult call today and let's get you grounded in your value so you can build the practice that, first of all, you deserve and that your clients deserve. And those two things go together. It is so possible. And you can do it by summer if you start now. So that's today's little episode about that. Next week, I'm super excited to have special guest Dr. Amanda Bedoris on the podcast. She will be talking about SEO and AIO for intensives. She is an expert on this stuff. Many of you probably know who she is. She's a big voice in the intensive space, and SEO and AIO are her jam for getting intensive referrals. I know you all will benefit hugely from her knowledge. It was really fun talking to her. So make sure you tune in for that episode. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful week. And hey, if one of the haters calls you out, know that I've got your back. Send me a DM. I will on Instagram. I will give you a little pep talk. The things those people are saying are about them. They're not about you. So let me leave you with that. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.